Each visit allowed us to spend time with the president, with the cabinet and academic leaders, boards of trustees, college councils, faculty, staff, and students, and you can't know how many people said, "It's summer. You're not going to see any faculty and students. You are so wrong." We had massive numbers of students and faculty and staff engaged in their work this summer, just as they do all year long, and a great array of community leaders, elected officials, and we were joined on several of the tours by Chairperson Carl Hayden from the Board of Trustees, Ken O'Brien from the Faculty Senate, Student Assembly Chair Melody Mercedes, Assemblywoman Deborah Glick, and Senator Toby Stavisky, both of whom chair their respective higher education committees in the Assembly and in the Senate. We also added to our tour a visit to the Capitol building on June 1, a visit to Washington and the Hill on June 2nd, and we had, of course, the opportunity to break ground, to cut ribbons, to help with launches, announcements, and other special occasions. We also visited the Nanoscale Science and Engineering Center, the Levin Institute, the Rockefeller Institute, a local professional sports training camp, and tomorrow, the New York State Fair. So I think it was pretty comprehensive. Well, what have we learned from this tour? I must begin by saying that the tour was but phase one of our strategic planning process. It is, in a sense, the beginning, the groundwork, the foundation for what will come shortly. We are now compiling all the feedback from our visits. We took copious notes. We have the benefit of the website and the email materials that were shared with us, follow-up letters, and we are, through the use of the creation of an Office of Strategic Planning and Accountability, tracking and synthesizing the conversations that were held across these 64 campuses. We are refining our website so that it is more user-friendly and it can be the basis for our communication going forward. And we have convened a task force on social media, and the age of this task force does not exceed 25. So we are all going to learn to use the new media and social connections and conversations in the second phase of our strategic planning. So I will be reporting to the Board of Trustees on September 15th the synthesis of these initial conversations. At that time, we will formally launch the second phase of strategic planning. First requirement will be to form a steering committee composed of presidents, faculty leaders, staff and student leaders, and external constituents who will guide the second phase of this planning process. We will plan a set of statewide conversations around probably about 7 regions of the state. So, for instance, when I was you'll get this, on Long Island yesterday, talking to Suffolk and Nassau community colleges, I was able to say, we'll be back on Long Island for a second phase of this conversation. So while we've been very busy visiting and collecting data for these 64 campuses, we've also tried as an initial step to set up some infrastructure that will help sustain the planning process going forward. Now, with the formation of a steering committee, the selection of roughly 200 people who will travel to these statewide regional conversations, and the technology to support this massive planning process, we are ready to go. We are going to build on existing commission reports, the Commission on Higher Education, reports from current and recent task forces formed by the governor's office, and the interaction that we will have ongoing with business and industry, with our elected officials, with the key constituent groups that represent the work you do for the State University of New York, and promise that the outcome of this planning process, a vision for the State University of New York, will be available for all to see by mid-spring. But it won't be a surprise. It won't be cloaked in mystery. It will be something that you will have been reading about and talking about all through the months of October through February. And our hope is that this plan will have your fingerprints all over it. Fundamentally, this will be a plan that will reflect SUNY's critically important role in economic revitalization for the state of New York and its quality of life. But you came today to hear my initial impressions of what 64 campus visits have taught us about the State University of New York. May he live forever. David Letterman, top 10, starting with number 10, counting backwards. The very important number 10 lesson that I learned on these campus visits confirmed my decision to come to New York and lead the State University of New York because of the extraordinary, comprehensive nature of this system, from community colleges to technical colleges, comprehensive colleges, colleges embedded in our land-grant and independent colleges, and our research centers and medical schools. Very important lesson number 9. Upon arrival and entry of any of our campuses, we were struck by the scenic and physical beauty of the campuses, the vistas, the greening, and the exceptional stewardship of our facilities and landmass, as so cared for by those who live on our campuses. And very important lesson number 8, the extreme contrasts of languishing deferred maintenance contrasted with state-of-the-art laboratories and performance halls, and certainly the array of museums, athletic facilities, innovative classrooms, residence halls and apartment-style living, quads and plazas, wonderful food stations, strolling areas, and gathering places, all wonderfully available to our community partners. So what have 64 campus visits taught us about SUNY? Very important lesson number 7, the amazing program array across our 64 campuses, from culinary arts to veterinary medicine, from nanoscale engineering to midwifery, and I could go on and on. What is most remarkable is how clearly linked the programs we offer are to the employment needs and opportunities of our local communities and our state. Very important lesson number 6, the manner in which creative people have been able to improvise in order to meet changing demands in tough economic times, transforming libraries into innovative learning centers, small classrooms into accommodations for the burgeoning ranks of student enrollees, teaching more, working harder and smarter, and always with a clear focus on perhaps the very most important lesson learned on this tour, and that's the very important and central lesson number 5, our students. I didn't put them at 10, I didn't put them at 1, I put them numerically at 5 because our students are in the middle, in the center of everything we do. Students are enrolling on our campuses in record numbers and with great intentionality. Let me put one important myth to rest. The SUNY campus experience is neither an afterthought or a last choice. Rather, the SUNY combination of a high-quality education that is accessible and affordable is the New York trifecta.